So go ahead and open the Google Sheets app, hit the plus button in the bottom right-hand corner, a new spreadsheet, title it something like Crystal Violet Lab Data. We want to make a heading for time and another for absorbance. Then we want to copy and paste the time and absorbance data from your Spectral app directly into this app. Oftentimes you can highlight and copy a full column and paste it here. Once you get that done, you'll also find it easier if you can copy this time column and paste it 2 more times. I'm sorry, 3 more times, alternating columns. And in between that, you're going to fill in column headings with the concentration of crystal violet, because we know that's something that we want to calculate. The natural log of the concentration of crystal violet, that's a second graph that we want to make, and the inverse of the concentration of crystal violet. When I'm done and I want to save, I hit the green check button in the top left-hand corner. That will show me sheets at the bottom in case I wanted to add another sheet. And so sometimes if you have done a function and you're not sure if it's saved, look for that check. All right, so let me go back and copy and paste the data into my spreadsheet. Here I already have the data copied and pasted into my spreadsheet. As you can see, I have the times starting from time 0, I have the absorbances, and then I've simply copied all of the time data into these 3 columns. So now we want to fill in the concentrations. And to do that, we're going to actually use the Beer's law graph that we calculated. So let me show you this. We're going to use the Beer's law graph that we did in the first step of the lab, in which we plotted absorbance on the y-axis and concentration on the x-axis, and we noted the slope, any y-intercept that we got from the Spectral app. Now, here we're trying to solve for concentration, so I'm just going to rearrange this equation algebraically to isolate the variable concentration. So I'll go ahead and subtract b from both sides, and then I'll divide the slope on both sides. And now I have concentration by itself. And this is the function that we're going to put into our spreadsheet. Down below, you can see I've added my actual numbers. You will add your actual numbers. So my actual y-intercept was this, and my actual slope was this, and my actual absorbances are in the spreadsheet in the column. So here's how we'll enter the data. Click on the first box inside of the concentration column, and below you'll hit equals. Equals tells the spreadsheet that you want to put a mathematic function in, and this is the mathematic function that we're going to put in. So first we'll do open parentheses. I'll open 2 sets of parentheses just to make sure it knows what I'm doing. And then I'm going to touch absorbance, and then minus, and then I'll type in my number, and close parentheses. So that's everything in the numerator. Then I'll hit divide and put every denominator. Okay. So as you can see in this function box on the bottom left-hand side, on the bottom left-hand corner, you can see the exact expression that I've put in the function box. If it has any mistakes, it may not work. So the number of open parentheses should match the number of closed parentheses. Everything in the numerator should be in a parentheses, and the denominator should be separate. Now I'm going to look for that check. See that check in the top left-hand corner? Press the check, and it will calculate for me. So that's the first concentration. Now, in order to calculate the rest of the concentrations, I'm going to highlight and pull at this bottom right-hand corner. You see, when I can highlight only that box and pull at that bottom right-hand corner straight down, when I get to the bottom of my data, it'll give me an option called autofill, and it'll fill in the rest for me. So let's see. I think we have 900 measurements. So I've let go, and now I'm going to tap it one time, autofill. So now it calculates the rest of the concentrations for me. Now I'm going to move on to the next box. The function that I want to add here, see at the bottom of my screen, I'll hit an equal sign. Equals tells it that I want to do some math in that box. And I'm specifically asking it to do the log. So let's type ln, and it'll give me a bunch of options at the bottom. The one that I want is this first one, ln, so click on that. And then it says what value. So the value that I want to log is the concentration. See how I've highlighted it? Now let's go to my check. The check is on the right-hand side. That's done. So I can autofill down as well. And then for the very last column, so again, every time I want to do math in a spreadsheet, I hit the equal sign first. And then what I actually want to do this time is just take the number 1 and divide it by the original concentration. So I'm just plugging everything in and then hit the check. And it does that too. So I can autofill both of those. Once you have your whole spreadsheet filled in, then you're going to make your 3 graphs. So see, I hit check one more time just to make sure that I didn't lose anything, that everything is saved. So let's work on making our first graph. So we're going to highlight the 2 columns together. That's why I copied time multiple times. And the first graph I'm going to make will have CB on the y-axis and time on the x-axis. So highlight all the data, then go to the top right-hand corner and hit the plus. The thing that we're adding as a chart, we typically start with a type of chart that is a scatter plot. So go down to scatter, and it looks like a straight line because the dots are really close together, but this is a scatter plot, and the names on it are fine. It gives me CV versus time. That's what I need to know, and I'll go ahead and hit the check, top left-hand corner. So that should be my first graph. It's right here, so I can highlight it and pull it to the side. You can make the other 2 the same way that we did this one, but there's a few things that we also want to know. So if we go to the very bottom, it will be valuable for us to also know the slope of each of the 3 graphs and the R-square value for each of the 3 graphs. Remember, R-square tells us which graph has the most direct relationship between the y and the x-axis. So we're looking for an r-square value that is closest to 1. And then the slope, of course, we can use to get k. So to get your r-square value for your first graph, let's go ahead and just choose a box underneath the data. Hit an equals sign, because again, equals means you're going to put a mathematic function in. And the name of this function is r square. So if you just type r, it'll start guessing. S, it'll keep guessing. Here, this is the symbol for r square. And then it tells you what to highlight. Highlight everything on the y-axis, comma, everything on the x-axis, check. So those are the steps. So on the y-axis, I have this data, and I can highlight it upside down. I don't have to go in order. And comma, and then on the x-axis I have this data, and I should be able to highlight that upside down as well. And then look for the check. So I have my r-square value. And again, I can fill it to the right, just like before, autofill. Now, the reason this isn't working here, let me clear that, and let me clear that, clear that. The reason those other 2 numbers haven't calculated is because the 2 columns are empty. You can't have an r-square value of just one number. There's no comparison at all. But when you fill your columns, those will work. Here's where we're going to put our slope. So one more time, let's go down to the function box, hit equals. We want to enter a slope, so we'll start typing the word and let it guess. The word slope describes what we want. We will highlight everything on the y-axis pertaining to our slope, and that's this concentration here. And then comma, everything on the x-axis pertaining to our slope, so that's this column here. It can be tough to grab, okay? And then the check, not an equal sign, be careful. And again, one more time, we have the slope, but we can autofill to the right. And these are not things that we want the slope of. I don't need the slope of the time, so I'm clearing those. But these other two boxes will be filled with the slopes from the y-axis, and so that's why I'm leaving those there. And let's hit check one more time. And to save this with me, of course, you'll add a link and make sure you share it with me, please, into your, please don't send me an email. Just add a link and share it with me, no email, into your lab worksheet. Thank you.